Hello everybody and welcome to the stream. We are in season 4, episode 4, and today we're going to work on improving the usability of the application that we've been working on. And let me quickly see if I can switch this input here so I can actually better see what's going on. So this is good, and then I need an output projector. And there we go. Nice. So let's go to the screen share. And if you are on the stream, feel free to say hello and where you're dialing in from. So here is the application that we've been working on. It's a read it later application, and you can see that we have our main screen here, and on the main screen we've got a bunch of things going on. We've got our inbox, we've got our archive, and we've got a bunch of tags. So when I go into the inbox, I can see all the articles that this user has collected. And down here in this area on the list item, we can see all the tags that have been assigned to this item here. And when I go into the article, I can read the simplified version of the article, and I can go in and edit the metadata. And this metadata is automatically extracted from the article as I save it. So and it makes use of open graph metadata that we pull from the HTML header of the article. So we get the title, the site, an author if it's available, the excerpt, and then there are two additional fields that are useful for the user. So for example, in the notes field, you can enter anything that you find important about this article, any thoughts that you have. And then down here, we've got the tags, and these tags will be automatically derived from the content of the article. So let's take a quick look at how this works. So let's assume that I find an interesting article. So here we are on the nil coalescing website. So let's go to the top of the blog, and then let's see. Let's find an article that we haven't yet added. How about, yeah, avoiding text truncation in SwiftUI with dynamic type. So that sounds like something that might be interesting. So this is a nice article, but I don't want to read it now. I want to read it later. So I tap on this button here to open the share dialog. The share dialog opens. I tap on Sophia. This dialog pops up. It extracts all of the metadata from the article, and then it automatically also extracted the tags from the article. And then I can take a note and leave a comment for myself. This looks interesting. Need to check out for future work on apps that are text heavy. And then I save this, and then when I go back into the application, it appears up here, and you can see all those tags. So if I want to edit the tags, I can open this dialog again, and then I can go in and add new tags. For example, example 1, example 2, or if I want to, for example, I use this app myself. I use it to curate articles that I want to talk about in my newsletter. So I might say this is for the newsletter, and I want to use it in issue number 93, for example. And then I can save that, and boom, it's saved. And when I go back here, I can see all the additional tags. Nice. So I wanted to improve the experience for entering those tags, and I already have something in mind, and there is, let's take a look at this screenshot here. So this is a screenshot I took from another app that allows you to tag stuff, and you can see that we've got a list of tags here. The ones at the top are the ones that are selected for an item. The ones at the bottom are the ones that are still available. And then at the bottom of the screen, we've got a search field. And if you tap into the search field, you can either search for any tag, so it will start filtering the view, or it will allow you to add a new tag. So what I want to do is I want to do two things. One thing is implement this screen here, and then the other thing is I want to make sure that in the backend, or in the functionality where we compute the tags, I want to make sure that this is pre-populated with any of the tags that the user has already used, in order to make this a better experience, right? So to make sure that those tags that the user has already used are prioritized. I don't know if that's actually a good idea or if it's going to backfire, but let's try this out. So what I'm going to do is, so I've got my my IDE here in the background, and now you might be wondering, so this is clearly an iOS app, so how on earth is it possible that we run an iOS application from something that does look a lot like VS Code? So for those of you who haven't watched last time, let me show you how this works. So let me make a little bit more space, like this. And you might notice that you can even see the log output, right? So what kind of magic is that? So let me stop this and then walk you through it. So we have our application here, and we've got our Xcode project here, and I could open this in Xcode, but what I did instead is I use a plugin called FlowDeck. And FlowDeck allows me to say, okay, I'm going to inspect your workspace here, and I'm going to find your Xcode project, so you can select that, and then it will ask you which scheme do you want to build, and then you select the scheme. It also shows you all the simulators and devices that are registered in your system. So for me, it shows a bunch of simulators, and there also should be, well, at least a physical device. Let's see if it can see it. iOS devices. So they are grouped into this block here, and you can see that I've got a couple of physical iPhones that are connected to my system, or that are known to the system, and so I could even run this on my physical devices. And then when I want to run this on a device, so let's say I want to run this on this iPhone 17 Pro, I can go to this entry here in the list, and you can see that this is already selected. I could even stop the simulator, but since booting up the simulator takes time, I'll rather not do that. But I'm going to show you how to run the application again. You can even run without building, and because I've built before, I can just like tap on this button and boom, there is the application. And the cool thing is you can even debug. So let's go into the root of this application. And then, for example, where is a good place? Oh yeah, let's find the plus button. So overview screen, and then so here is our button for adding stuff, and here's our action. Let me see if I can. So here's the action. Let's put a breakpoint and then try this out. Sorry, let's go back. Oh, that's funny. Are we not in debug mode? Apparently not. So let's go back and then launch this in debug mode. For some reason, I thought it would automatically launch in debug mode, no matter what you do. So at the bottom here, you can see all sorts of details about the application, the target device, and then what's going on here. I can even go and inspect the build process. So let's see if this will hit the breakpoint. Let's try this one more time. Okay, so it did hit the breakpoint. Let's continue. Okay, so apparently, is this the same application? Apparently it, let's turn this off again and relaunch. Oh, there you go. Okay, so maybe that was not the best point. Let's go, what is a better point? Okay, I'm going to go into the add artifact view, and let's see if I can set a breakpoint there. So now there is no definition. So that is the thing. So sometimes it doesn't see your symbols, and that is very, very funny. I don't know why that happens. Oh yeah, I remember. It's something to do with the derived data location. You know what? I think there was an update for FlowDeck a while ago. Is this the most recent version? It's an auto update. Let's update these. Restart extensions. Okay. Okay, so let me try to build one more time. The cool thing about FlowDeck is that it also sets up your Xcode shortcut, so I can just press Command B for building or Command R for running. And so I've just pressed Command B for building, so maybe that will help to set up the symbols, and then hopefully VS Code will understand where to navigate to. No, it doesn't. Well, okay, let's try this. Let's clear the derived data and then try this one more time. And if it doesn't work, let's not waste more time on it, because what I really want to show is something entirely different. Let's not get lost in something that's irrelevant. So it has cleared the derived data. Let's build one more time. And here in the background, you can see that building the application is not magic, because it's really just invoking command line tools. And I assume that this is also what's happening behind the scenes in Xcode. All right, so there was a question on the chat. Can you please explain command once again? So which command? I'm more than happy to explain what's going on. Is it this command that you want me to explain? So this is basically the, I didn't write this myself. So this is the command that FlowDeck will issue in order to compile my application. So let's see, go to definition. Nah, this doesn't look like it's gonna work. I had this issue before, and then I was able to resolve it by, oh, look at that. So it seems like the indexer is doing something. Yeah. I can also hear my fan spinning up, so so something is clearly happening. Okay, compile, compile, compile. Task completed. Let's see. Nope. Okay. Anyways, so back to what we had in mind. So I wanted to implement this screen here. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to use Antigravity, which is our Agentic IDE. And we've done stuff like that before. So last time we implemented the entire smart tagging logic. This time around, we want to improve the editing experience. So what I'm going to do is, let me see if I can copy this here and then paste it. Nope. Download. Download to desktop. Oh, tagging screen. Okay, and then let's go into Finder. And oops, I need to move the Finder here. Go to the desktop. Is there a quick action to convert this image to a JPEG? There you go. I assume that's going to be easier. And now let's use the agent mode in Antigravity to work on this feature. Hello, I want to implement a tagging feature for my application. I've already started implementing that. So on the add artifact screen, the user can type tags into their into an input field, but that doesn't feel very comfortable and user-friendly. Also, so you can see it, here is Super Whisper. Okay. I want to implement a screen that allows users to pick existing tags and also create new ones. So, and now let's see if I can attach a piece of media. So we've got our tagging screen here, and see, it supports JPEG, but not HEIC or whatever that is called. Can you please take a look at the attached screen and then suggest how to implement this? Please come up with an implementation plan. Right, so we are in planning mode. I've got Gemini 3 Flash selected, and go. Okay, so it's now analyzing the code base in order to find out where to best put this. So the application is organized in two main folders. I've got Sofia, which is my main application folder here, which contains my Xcode project. And then I've got a packages folder, and that packages folder contains all of the packages that I use to implement this application. For example, we have an artifact model package, and that contains just the data model. For example, here we have our artifact protocol, and you can see that it contains the title, it contains the tags. So this is made for holding all of the information about my about the links that the user can store in the application. And then we have got the metadata UI, and that metadata UI contains the artifact editor view, and that is the screen that we need to modify, because it so there should be a body here, and you can see that in the body we have a list, and that list contains editable and non-editable fields for all the metadata. So for example, you can see the author, you can see the excerpt, the notes, and the tags, and you will realize that this is exactly the same order that you saw it in the UI. So, if we go into the metadata dialog, you will notice this is exactly in the same way. So here is our implementation plan, and Antigravity suggested the current tagging system in the Sofia iOS app uses a simple comma-separated text field, which is not user-friendly. This plan outlines the implementation of a dedicated tag selection screen as shown in the provided design. So it wants to implement a new tag picker view that allows users to pick existing tags and create new ones. And there will be several sections. One section for the selected tags. Display is currently associated, the tag is currently associated with the artifact. Tapping a tag removes it. Then we've got the list at the section with all the available tags. This displays other existing tags from Tag Remote Store. Tapping a tag adds it to the selected tags. And then we have a search and create area, a search bar at the bottom of the screen. As you type, the available tags will be filtered. If no existing tag matches this search query, a create tag name option is displayed. And then actions, we've got done for committing the changes and cancel for discarding any changes. So that all sounds good. artifact editor view. Yep, so we need to modify that. And in that view, which is the one that I just showed you, we will have a dedicated button or row that displays the existing tags. Tapping this row will present the tag picker view in a sheet. Okay. And then we've got a manual verification plan. Okay, so there is yeah, I think we can do it this way. There was another thing that I wanted to make sure. Okay. For the actions, please make sure to position the action buttons in the top toolbar as is custom for liquid glass design on iOS 26. Also make sure to use the correct icons for these actions. So now I've got a comment on this area here. And now we've got a bunch of options. So one option is, so I could make more changes and or suggest more changes. That's one thing that I can do. And then the other thing is I can either say, okay, so this is good to go with this one little change here. And then I could either tap on the proceed button up here to proceed with implementation plan and one comment, or I could go in here and say commit because it shows that there is an implementation plan with one comment, so it would pick this up. Or I could say, well, I want to iterate on this a little bit more before I am sure, so I'm just going to tap on review, which gives me the opportunity to add another comment up here, but I can just say, okay, go ahead and iterate on this implementation plan. And then I can make sure that this implementation plan meets my requirements. Okay, just double checking how Twitter is doing today. And it seems to be doing fine because we're transcoding. So I'm using Restream to do this, and I'm streaming in 4K to YouTube, which is why you can see this in very crisp resolution. And I'm also streaming this to LinkedIn, which apparently can handle the 4K, even though they just display it in HD quality. But it seems to be the case that on Twitter, it didn't work that way. So I have to transcode it on Restream, which is an extra package that you have to add to your stream account, apparently. So if you are on Twitter and you can see this, let me know how the quality is. And if you would like to have higher quality of the stream, come over to YouTube. But I'm super happy that it seems to work. That's really amazing. Cool. So we've got our updated implementation plan. And yeah, so the layout has been updated slightly, and I think this looks good. So let's see what it said. Thanks for the feedback, Peter. I've updated the implementation plan to reflect the liquid glass design requirements. Specifically, I've added details about the floating circular action buttons in the top toolbar. Well, they're not really floating. Let's double check. Yeah, okay, seems to be okay. I've specified the checkmark and Xmark icons, that is correct. I've also detailed the layout for selected available tags and the persistent search bar at the bottom. So detailed. Yep, that sounds okay. That also sounds okay. Right, so let's proceed and see how the implementation looks like. All right, so while we're waiting, I'm curious if you've used Antigravity before, or if you've used any other agentic IDEs like Cursor or Windsurf, and what your experience is. Or if you just go to the command line and use something like Gemini CLI or Claude Code, and how you like that. So I prefer to have a combination of tools. So I really like the experience of Antigravity, where it allows you to iterate on the implementation plan and have something in your IDE that you can look at and then comment on. But sometimes I feel using the command line is more efficient because it also has access to everything that's on your machine, which Antigravity still does, but on the command line, you've got much more space vertically than you've got here. I mean, you can go in and say, well, I'm going to make more space by dragging. So yeah, I used both at the same time mostly. So I created a new tag picker view that, oh, look at that. That is bad grammar, I think. That providing the following functionality, well, that provides my mate. So a dedicated section at the top of the picker, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Integration, it replaced the text-based tag input with a button that shows the selected tags as chips. Very nice. It added live data fetching for tags to the tag remote store. And we see a couple of code snippets here, so you can flip between those code snippets. That is really nice. So here we can see how it implemented the liquid glass toolbar. Well, I am not so sure about this here, so we'll have to have a look at that. And then for the artifact editor view, in the tag section, we've got a button and a flow layout. Okay. Cool. So that means we should be able to run this. So let's just press Command R to run the application again. And let's see what happens. Okay, here we go. So, no compile errors, which is always good. Let's go into an existing URL, like this one, the one that we added just at the beginning. Okay, so we've got a bunch of chips here. Oh, okay. So let's take a look at that again. I tap somewhere. It's a little bit hard. So I tapped right next to this button here. Okay, let's first look at how this looks like. Okay, we've got all of the tags that are selected. What happens if I tap on that one? Okay, it gets removed. Nice. And now let's try to add another one. So this article is about Swift, so we can just tap on Swift to add Swift. Nice. So it disappears from down there and appears up here. What happens if I deselect it? It's back down there. Nice. So, and then let's see what happens if I type and it gets selected. That is nice. So we get the update. So let's say I wanted to create a new tag for interesting. So now I tap the enter button and nothing happens, but I can tap on create interesting and there you go, create interesting. Nice. So that works. Yeah, I think this is an acceptable implementation. And let's also see what happens when I press the accept button. So it automatically updated the tags down here. Let's make a change and press the cancel button. And okay, so apparently that didn't work. So it should have not made this change, right? So let's see what happens if I exit out of this one and then come back. Yeah, so it did persist this to the database. Also, I wonder, so let's remove all of them and then commit. So nothing here, tap to add tags. Okay. Okay, yeah, I mean, that is okay. But we could also, it could be better. So, and then what happens when I tap this magic wand? Yep, so our AI implementation now kicks in and automatically detects the tags that are the best for this URL and then adds them here, and then we can go in and modify them like this. Okay, cool. So we can now go back and say, this is a good implementation. I'm pretty happy with it. However, I noticed if I make changes in the tag picker view and then press the X button, the changes will not be discarded, but still be committed. Why is this? Well, sometimes this doesn't work. Oh yeah, so it's not, this is so weird. So it seems to be an issue in Antigravity. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'll reload this window. And then I'll go back into this chat and then paste works again. I don't know what's happening. So sometimes pasting is disabled. So it now goes off to analyze the implementation. And I assume that the issue is that the selected tags are bound from the parent view. Yeah, so I've identified that tag picker view was modifying the binding directly, causing changes to persist even if the user canceled. I'm now implementing a fix using a local state. And here is the updated implementation. Okay, I need to move this to the right so you can all see that. So what it does is we've got a local state that is private for the working tags, and then in the initializer we have selected tags as a parameter, and we store this in the backing variable for this selected tags binding, and we create a new state for the working tags, and then we use the working tags for filtering. We use them for the create option, and then it's going to be interesting what happens when you press the checkmark button. And here's what it does. So it just reassigns the working tags to the selected tags, right? So the selected tags are a binding to our parent view. So by assigning the working tags to that binding, it will set this on the parent view. Nice. So let's run this again and see if it works. Still building the application. Launching. And here we go. Let's go into this link. And now let's make a change. So I'm going to add Swift, and then, oh no, I didn't want to add that. And nice. So let's remove all of these and say, sorry, I made a mistake. Nice. What happens if we add and then commit? Yep, it works. Nice. So that was easy. That was really nice. Also, okay. I'm not entirely sure why it's using this accent color up here. Where is the button? So here is our dismiss button. Yeah. Oh, it uses background color pink. Look at that. Oh, is it because we're running the application? Okay, let's see. So I've stopped the application. Nope. Also, nope. This is really strange. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'll quickly kill this, and then let's reopen this from the command line and see if that helps to resolve the problem. Who knows? Okay, go back into our chat here. Oh. Hello. Okay, so now we can paste. I don't quite understand why you're using pink as the accent color for the commit button. Can't we just use the regular accent color that we're using in the application? So it should basically just remove this line. Oh, I'm puzzled, it says. So it's now trying to find the place where this is defined in where we're defining the accent color in the application? Well, I mean, I might have defined pink as the accent color a long time ago. So if we go into the application and where is our where is our resource bundle? That is interesting. Oh, here we go. So here's our asset catalog, and the asset catalog does have an accent color, but it's definitely not pink. Okay, but it seems that it came around to not using pink as the color. So now it's editing. Let's see. Okay. Okay. So there is another thing that I just noticed. Let's go back into the application without recompiling it. And I'm just curious, so yeah, that's interesting. So it produces this HDEC where we have an image, a text, and a spacer. And that doesn't seem to be very canonical. So rather, it should use a button with a label, and that label can have a system image and a text. And we've done this in other places in the application before. So let's first look at how this is going to look like. And also, I'm going to run this on an iOS 18 simulator to give us an impression of how this looks like on a version of the operating system before iOS 26. So we are building or waiting? Okay, we're building and the application launches. We are in debug mode. Let's go in and then have a look at the changed implementation. Okay, so this looks... Okay, so now, okay, nice. So it did recognize that it also was using a different accent color for the tags. And now that I told it, well, let's please use the default accent color, it updated that. So we can commit, that's nice. Remove that. The other thing is, and that's something that we should also change, is if we didn't make any change, that button shouldn't be enabled. Like this one is it enabled? See, it's not enabled, right? Because we didn't make any change, so it shouldn't commit. If I make a change, this one is enabled. Likewise, if I remove this one again, see? Because we're comparing the state of the edited data item, it is able to detect there is no change, even though we made a change back and forth, but it cancels out, and so this button is disabled. Good. So I'm going to, and actually let's take a look at the artifact editor view, because that makes, probably has the correct button configuration. Let's see. Sheet, toolbar. So we've got our cancel button. Well, I can't find it. So this is, let's go into this screen here. So the code here for cancel button is the code that we're using here. And you can see that we're just using a button, and the button has a label and a text label and a system image. So I want Antigravity to use the same pattern in the tag picker view. So let's go in and tell it to do that. I've got two more change requests for you. So the first one is that I want you to make sure that if the user didn't make any changes, or the changes that they made were undone in the dialog, that the button for committing changes is disabled until there are actually changes. Wow, what a complicated way to say this. And it's not working. My goodness. So I can type, but I can't paste, right? Copy. No pasting. Why? Why is this not possible? Okay, so good thing is I get another opportunity at phrasing this more eloquently. If the user is in the tag picker view and they didn't make any changes, the button for committing should be disabled. And the other thing, let's go back. Yeah, let's first do this one here. So, and before making any changes, it has updated the implementation plan, so we can take a look at that. Done button, checkmark icon, disabled when no changes have been made. So the other thing is we want to make sure that we're using the correct canonical code for implementing this. So I'm going to highlight this is the search bar. Where is our toolbar button with the commit button? Yeah, it's this, right? No, edit tags. Scroll view. Available tags. Show create option. Where is our toolbar? Here we go. Ooh, wow. So there is a bunch of things that are not great. So so this entire space up here, that is this H stack here, right? Okay. And then it has a spacer and then the edit text. So all of that should be a navigation view, or navigation stack rather. So if we go here, you can see that here we're using a navigation stack with the list inside, and then we set the navigation title. We set it to the display mode to inline, and then we have our toolbar items. Okay, so I'm going to select all of this, and then I'll press Command L. I am not very happy with your toolbar implementation. This is not canonical SwiftUI code. If you look at the artifact editor view, you will see how this is implemented properly. Please analyze that code and tell me how you want to change this, and let me approve it before you implement it. I actually added to the implementation plan. So, and this is probably because, let me double check, but I might not have any, yeah, see? So we don't have any SwiftUI skills in here. So the model is just implementing what it thinks is correct, and that it might not be canonical Swift and SwiftUI code. And in order to improve that, we should probably add a skill here. But let's first see if it comes up with a better implementation. So it probably apologized at first. No. Okay, so is dirty is implemented, or it's going to do that. My previous implementation of the toolbar was indeed a bit ad hoc and not very SwiftUI-like. So it updated the implementation plan. Toolbar. Yeah, leading button using toolbar item, trailing button also using toolbar item. They use a label style or toolbar. Okay. Is this in line with the implementation in the artifact editor view? Okay, so updating the implementation plan. Right, so it wants to use a toolbar item with placement top bar trailing. Yeah, so that is correct. Right, that is exactly how we're doing it in the other screen. So I think this is good. Label style.toolbar. Where is our cancel button. Yep, that's also correct. Nice. So we can go ahead. So here is the implementation for the dirty handling. So it will compare the previous state with the current editing state to drive this Boolean, and that will enable and disable the button. And then it removed all of those lines up here, and hopefully we have where is the toolbar? Here's our toolbar. Okay, yeah, this looks good. Okay, let's now try something. Can you please run the application for me? So if this goes well, it's using the Xcode built MCP server. It should have not done this. It should have used the FlowDeck integration. Yeah. Okay, let's have it do that. And in the meantime, let's see if FlowDeck has a way to install this skill. No. I thought that they had added something like that. Docs. Where is the where is the changelog? Oh. Interesting. I thought I'd seen a changelog. Let's just... Oh, there is a blog. File not found. Nope. Too bad. Okay, but let's take a look. So this is still, yeah, this is still going on. I'm so sure I'd seen that they do support a skill. Here we go. So, set up your AI agent, other agents. Okay, so I think what we can do is, because we've got the skill here, so we've got FlowDeck Studio / plugin. So what we can do is, let's go into Antigravity and then open a new terminal, npx skills lists, and that should tell us no skills found. And then we can say npx skills add and provide this here. And it will say, hello there, how do you want to install this FlowDeck skill? And I want Antigravity, Claude, Cursor, Gemini CLI. Yeah, that looks good. Install it into the project using symlinks, and then it will install it. Proceed. Done. Okay, so this is, in the background, it has still been trying to figure out what is going on. Okay, so there seems to be a compile error. Is that truly the case? Let's just try running with Command R. So it seems the compile did work. Yeah, so there was no missing curly brace or whatsoever. Okay, so we can go in and double check if the implementation works. So go in here, press here, and then, okay, very nice. The button is disabled. I'll add something, it's enabled. I remove that, it's disabled again. Great. So that works, and it also uses a proper toolbar now. So that is great. So our change worked as intended. And now let's try something else. And I'll say, which skills do you have? So now it should go in and find the skills. And it says, I have the FlowDeck skill available, which is specifically designed for Apple platform development. It says where it is, so we can go in here. You can see that the skill is installed in this agent folder. And it even said, since you previously asked me to run the application, I will use FlowDeck to build and launch it for you, as it provides a more reliable and observable experience for iOS development. Shall I proceed? Yes, please. So, it still needs to analyze the skill file, but this should be a lot faster now. So it knows which workspace, which configuration, which simulator to use. It now resolves the packages. And here we go, it's building and checking the command result. So on the one hand, this output is a lot cleaner because it doesn't show all the compile messages, but it also doesn't provide very fine-grained detail as to how the progress looks like. But yeah, maybe that is a small improvement that Daniel, the FlowDeck developer, could implement, having a textual progress bar, maybe. But I don't know if that's even possible, right? Because you don't know how many steps are there. Although for some reason, Xcode is always able to have this spinner, and it seems like at least they know how many steps they have, so maybe there is a way to do it. Is there anything that's going on in the console here? Oh, here we go. Yeah, this is independent. So it now launches the application and it will create a snapshot. So let's see. So this is the command it's sending to FlowDeck. Working. Build failed. Oh. Did it? Okay, so it's checking for command status. Okay, it's trying to build and run again. Yes, I'm still here. The build finished successfully, and FlowDeck is now in the middle of installing and launching the app. This part can take a minute or two as it does health checks and prepares the environment. Does it though? Well, I mean, like, we can see that it's doing something up here. Okay, nothing is happening at the moment. So what we'll do is I'm going to stop the application. Oh, maybe it was that. Maybe it couldn't connect. But no. Okay, I'm going to exit out of the application and then say, can you please try again? So bring it to the foreground. Send termination requests. Okay, so the application has started. And now it's navigating through the app. It's going into one of the links here, and then let's see if it can actually tap on the button down here. And you can't see it, but sorry, let me bring this back to the foreground. Here we've got screenshots. Oh no, that's not the one. So I think I might be wrong. Okay, so it's trying to find UI elements, and it wasn't able to find them. So I wonder, yeah, so troubleshooting accessibility tree. So what often happens, if it can't take a screenshot, it'll be like, well, you know, the accessibility tree was not good enough, and that typically means that you didn't implement accessibility at all, which I have to admit is the case for this application. So oftentimes it will go back and then make changes to the code to implement accessibility. So what is happening? Tapping the expected button. Yeah, so it now double checks the source code to verify how the implementation looks like. It's a bit hard. Oh, look at that, it's scrolling. So you might have seen that, there you go. So element not found, and then FlowDeck says, did you mean this other element here? Let me try to fix this. Okay, so here we are. Hello. It's so hard to, because it's building in the background. Yeah, so FlowDeck says, I couldn't find the element that you were looking for, but I found other elements that are similar. Did you mean any of these? And then the agent can use that information to make up either the testing strategy or fix the code. So what is happening here is it's trying to capture a clean inbox screen. Well, yeah, so, interesting. So it's running a build from 4 minutes ago. So it's not making any code changes. And let's see if this here why can't we copy? Copy. Yeah, so it wasn't able to take the screenshot. That's why we can't open it. Here we go. So here we can see the anti-gravity agent doing stuff. That's basically what we had in here. I probably accidentally clicked in open on terminal. So the bottom line of this experience here is you should properly implement accessibility to both help your users who have accessibility needs and your coding agent so that it can correctly test and verify your application. Yeah, so it's scrolling and trying to tap, but I have doubts that this is going to work. Oh, okay, it's going back to the root. So sometimes it will try to tap at a screen location. (100, 778), that might be around here. But yeah. Notifying the user of the completed work. So now I'm curious. Now I'm curious what it has to say. Oh, it wants to make changes to the tag picker view. Ooh, okay. That is interesting. Do you see that it, oh, for a quick moment there, it added a comment with the link to the screenshot, but I think that we don't have any screenshots. Do we have any? Oh, look at that. We do have screenshots. Yeah, they're just not complete. Since the internal editor content was not reliably accessible for automated interaction, I recommend a final manual check of the tag picker's done button state and the done cancel label toggle. The code implementation has been verified to follow the approved design. So we could say, all right, so it seems that accessibility labels were not configured properly. Do you think that by adding accessibility labels to the toolbar items, you'd be able to more reliably control the application while running a manual test? So let's have it review that. To include the accessibility improvements you suggested. So it wants to add accessibility identifiers to done and cancel in the tag picker view, as well as the button that opens the picker in artifact editor view. Yes, that is a very good idea. I approve of this, and let's have a look at that, and that will be the final action for this live stream. And I think so far this has been a good result. We've got a really nice tagging view that is a lot easier to use, a lot easier to understand because it's very visual. It doesn't require the user to figure out, oh, how do I enter tags? Do I have to comma separate them, or do I have to space separate them, or do I have to hit enter after I enter a new one? So this is much more convenient for, especially for new users. I think for power users, having a text input field might indeed be a good option, but for any new user, that is probably a little bit over the top. So it did add, where are we? So we've got an accessibility identifier here now. And I think it already restarted the application. Yeah, so it's rerunning the application. We are resolving packages, so it needs to recompile because we've got code changes now. Interesting. Is it? So that is very interesting. Why does it think that there is no iPhone 17 Pro simulator? It's clearly here and we've clearly used it before. Let's see. Right, installing the app. And now it seems to run the app. Yeah, we're navigating. Okay, timeout. Okay, so it's now trying to understand how the screen looks like. Yeah. Okay, so we're now navigating into that screen. That was successful. So now I think the next step would be trying to tap on this button down here. And that should now work because we have an accessibility identifier. I just don't know what is this? I mean, it did work. Why is there a timeout? So for some reason, yeah, I don't think that scrolling has anything to do with that. Yeah, that pretty surely doesn't exist. Okay, so I think it needs to update the code. Let's take a look at the walkthrough. Yeah, it's still not able to go into the tag picker. Yeah, so it said it did do that, but apparently it's not really working. So it didn't seem to work properly though. Why do you think that is? I saw that you were able to navigate to the artifact details screen, but for some reason you were not able to open the artifact metadata editing screen. Maybe you need to add an accessibility label for that as well. Because if we look at it, so we are in the features overview screen, artifact list screen. So here in the artifact list screen, if we go into the toolbar, or rather, yeah, so this screen doesn't have any accessibility identifiers, so that means that it can't find this button, it needs to tap. This is the filtering. We've got, okay, so sheet presenting semantic Q&A dialog. Yeah, so this is the one that we need. We need the edit artifact view. And if we take a look at that, so this button here needs to have an accessibility label. For all key and artifact view and artifact editor view. Yeah, mate, but this is not good enough. You need to add an accessibility label to this button as well, I think. Because that is how you navigate into that screen. Yeah, so I'm gonna abort this and then just resend that. And now let's see. Okay, so it added one, and now the navigation should be much easier. I hope. Okay, now that it's done that, right, so let's please run the application again and try navigating into the new screen that we implemented. So it's restarting the app. Or it needs to build first. Okay, compile worked. Now we can install the application. All right, installing. And now let's see if it, ooh, why? That is quite interesting. For some reason, it's opened the browser, this one here, and it's now trying to do testing on localhost. This is utterly wrong. Yeah. Mate, for testing an iOS application, you need to run it on the simulator, and then you can remotely control the simulator. Using the browser is not the right approach. Yeah, so at least it knows it needs to use FlowDeck. And I think probably our chat is now very long, so the model will have lots of stuff to go through, and it's probably hard for it to figure out what is going on, and that is why it's becoming a little bit more imprecise. Okay, but something is happening. So we're in the inbox. It navigates into the details view. So let's see if it can now. Oh. It still can't see the button. Pencil and list clipboard. That's this one. Yeah. Nope. Okay, so let's have a look at which button we actually need. So present metadata editor toolbar item is this one here, and it does have an accessibility identifier. So it should work. Did it work? It goes in here. Okay, I don't know why this is not working, because apparently it can navigate the application. Maybe it's just that it still doesn't see the button. But okay, well, at least it doesn't give up. That's the good news. No, it doesn't work. Maybe, yeah. So I'll keep it running for a moment. But I think we've been able to achieve quite a bit here. So if we look at all the changes that we made, you can see that we've made a bunch of updates here, and we've got I'll just stop it here. Okay, so we've got this really nice implementation of a tags editing screen that has all the features that we requested and is easy to use. And the actual implementation worked pretty flawlessly, and we were able to make a bunch of updates just by using plain language. And then the only thing that got us a little bit off guard here was that it was harder than expected for FlowDeck and the coding agent to navigate the application in order to go into this dialog and actually test it out. So I have no idea what was the problem there, because we did have accessibility labels, but maybe the UI is a little bit too complex. Anyways, so with that, I think we've implemented most of the UI. There are still a couple of things missing, for example, removing or renaming tags. So this is something that we'll still have to work on. And then prioritizing existing tags is also something. And this is what we can work on next time. So next live stream will be Monday, February the 9th. So in exactly 1 week, same time. And I hope to see you there. Thanks for tuning in.